Yo, like the dynamic of this show here, Keyshawn, Jay, Will, and Max, is very, very cringe. Like ESPN is just a cartoon, man. But when it comes to this show specifically, it's really cringe. It has a lot of cringe elements to it. Obviously, Max Kellerman being on the show, he's the one who's more experienced just when it comes to sports analysts and sports talk in general. Then you have Keyshawn Johnson, who knows nothing about basketball, and certain points that he makes, you could tell that he doesn't know what he's talking about. He makes very little sense with certain points that he makes, and I don't even think he watches that much basketball, especially when it comes to the finals and whatnot, or the run for the Denver Nuggets, because his biased takes against Jokic tells me that he doesn't necessarily watch him. And I feel like he doesn't watch him because he's not a fan of him. But if you're going to be an analyst on ESPN, your job is to watch these players, because the things that he says comes from a person that you could tell doesn't watch him. He's just saying things based off of, what people say about Jokic. He's not necessarily watching him, because if you watch him, then it would make more sense in terms of you making a better point in regards to what type of player Jokic is, because he looks at Jokic as just a boring potato type of player. Like he analogized Jokic to a potato, just saying how it's just boring. And he says how kids don't want to grow up to play like Jokic. It's like, what does that have to do with anything? The man won a championship. Why are we finding negative talking points about the guy? Like this has barely happened in years where players won a championship. You never really see a player get slandered the way Jokic is getting slandered, especially by these simple-minded people that's on ESPN. Like Max Kellerman is someone I respect when it comes to his takes and his opinions on the sport, because at least he gives you some type of substance. Sometimes it can be hyperbolic, but for the most part, he gives you substance. Jay Will here and there, he gives you substance as well. But this dude, Key, he has to go. They need to replace him with that dude, that other football player dude that was on the show. I forget his name. I think his name is Mike, but I forget his last name. He's more cogent when it comes to his takes and his points about the game of basketball as well as football, obviously. And he makes sense. He's clear. Like Keyshawn, sometimes he stops and he doesn't necessarily know what to say. It's just real cringe watching this dude, and you could tell that he doesn't really care about like how he projects himself. Because bro, you continue to look like a perpetual hater, like a petulant child who don't get their way because their team didn't make the finals. So you want to continue to blast a team that beat your team. It's just silly, bro. And like you just see it. Like it manifests itself when it comes to his countenance, how he conducts himself. Every time they talk about Jokic, this dude always gotta come at Jokic in some negative way. And it's like, bro, the least you could do is be objective. We get that you don't fuck with the team, but be objective, bro. It's like objectivity when it comes to sports media, they don't really care about that anymore. That's obsolete. It's all about what your favorite is. And you don't make it a good product when you have these media heads with favorites. Like people don't want to look at that. We want real substance when it comes to sports talk. So when we see people with favorites, it compromises that, because now it's biases and shit. Now you say certain things based off your feelings and whatnot. And this is what you see with a Keyshawn. The dude is a big hater. He's saying how Jokic has no skill. He's boring. Bro, like when you look at the man passes, it's like one of the most out of the world passes. He's like a big Luca. Like Keyshawn just looks at Jokic as just big white dude who just can't do anything. Like it's just silly, man.
Whatever. I mean, think about it. When we go to restaurants, we load up all sorts of stuff on it. We don't just say, hey, give us a potato, because it's boring. And that's all I'm saying.
Yes.
We still order it. That's all I'm saying.
I just want you to know, Keith, that the words that pop are potato and boring. Nothing else really
That's
pops
all
from what you
anyone's
just
gonna
said.
All the other words.
But what's the point of even saying that? Oh, his style is boring. Like, bro, the dude is just a bigger Luca. Do you guys look at Luca and say he's boring? I really just think that they going out their way to slander Jokic because one, he pretty much threw a monkey wrench in LeBron's plan to win an NBA title, and two, because it's the easy scapegoat route to take when it comes to, oh, this is a white guy, he's big, so aesthetically he's just not pleasing because he's big and white. But look at Luca. He plays the same way as Luka Doncic. And when it comes to his passing, as far as like a Jokic, that's pleasing to the eye. He has some of the most insane passes, some of the most, otherworldly passes when it comes to his ability to, pinpoint, when it comes to his ability to target pass, to make sure that, his shooter's in the right spot when it comes to that pass. And they're effective because when a receiver gets a Jokic pass, they always make sure to convert. For the most part, they always make sure to convert. Obviously, you're not going to make every shot, but 9 times out of 10, they convert because Jokic has that much of, it's just something about his passing that makes it more easier just when it comes to, his IQ in regards to him knowing certain players and where they're going to go, certain cuts, just reading the defense, as well as understanding the style of the offense, as well as understanding what plays is being implemented. The dude's IQ is high as hell. All that encompasses skill. So when it comes to a Nikola Jokic, yes, he is a skilled so-called basketball player, or a skilled so-called white basketball player. And I feel like if Jokic was a so-called black man, he would not be getting the slander that he's getting. This is how you know that these motherfuckers, they just simple-minded. They only see color. And sometimes when they see color, they automatically want to be stereotypical and, align that with someone who's slow and quote unquote non-athletic. And that's just all nonsense. That's all nonsense. Just because you jump high and you can dunk, that's not athleticism. That's, of course, that's athleticism, but that's not the end all be all. And we all understand that. Great dexterity, placement, how you move on the court, your stamina, so on and so forth. All that stuff encompasses skill. And you don't have to be necessarily athletic to be skilled. Oh, it looks boring. Like, what's so boring about it? If you look at his passes, that's what makes him most watchable. His out of the world type of passes. Like, he's probably the greatest passer of all time. At least top 5. Oh, no, he's not better than Magic, but he's top 5 when it comes to greatest passers of all time. Not greatest big man passers. He's the greatest big man passer ever. But in general, as a passer, just in general, he's better than almost 85%, 95% of players that stepped into the NBA. He really is. So it's just like you can tell that Key is coming from this standpoint of just being petty for whatever reason. Obviously, it's because of the LeBron James angle, but it's also because this dude is just someone who doesn't like a certain type of player, I guess. And you can tell, he goes out his way to, dismiss Max. If you notice, even the title of the show is Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. They go out their way to sideline Max. And Keyshawn always emphasizes, this dynamic between he and Jay while Max is literally on the show. You can't do that because at the end of the day, if you're conducting a show and it's 3 people on the show, you want to make sure you say both their names so they can feel included in the conversation. Keyshawn likes to have these side dynamics between he and Jay by saying Jay's name all the time. He never really says Max's name. You see how you watch sports shows and for instance, Chris Broussard would probably be talking to Wilds or something. What's the guy's name? His first name? The host of the show on First Things First, or the moderator? Something Wilds. He'll be talking to Wilds or so, but he'll still say Nick's name just so Nick can feel included in the conversation because it's 3 people on the panel. You get what I mean? Keyshawn doesn't do that. And I feel like he goes out his way to not do that because he's petty like that. And certain people that bring substance to a show, it's an affront to the person that doesn't bring that. And Keyshawn knows that he doesn't necessarily bring too much substance when it comes to basketball talk. So Max Kellerman is an affront to him. It's the same type of dynamic with Stephen A. Smith. It's the same type of dynamic. And you can see that. You can see how it plays out. Just on the show, if you watch the show, Keyshawn always sidelines Max and just makes the dynamic between he and Jay. He always emphasizes Jay. Never really says Max's name. He only says it here and there, but for the most part, he tries to sideline Max and dismiss Max. And it's really corny, you know what I mean? And it just shows that they're not making the show a good product by doing that. Because all you do is show your biases. And now you have favorites, whether it be a sports player or just in general when it comes to who you like. If you're working with the guy, it's not about your personal animus or biases. It's about making the show a better product. You know what I mean? And Keyshawn just does not know how to do that. He does not know what he's talking about when it comes to basketball. And he's really, really petty in certain aspects of how he conducts himself and whatnot. I'm not trying to like just demean him and bash him, but it just, speaks to what I see on this show, just about the dynamic. And you have a lot of people like Keyshawn Johnson. Keyshawn Johnson is just immature. No, not immature. I'm sorry. Insecure. He's insecure and he shows it. A lot of people show levels of insecurity just based off of their approach to certain things when it comes to how they conduct themselves and when it comes to how they work with other people, where they have this level of security for themselves, and that kind of like threatens the person that lacks security and whatever they lack in security in. Because obviously Keyshawn he probably affluent, probably has money, he's probably good, but everybody's insecure, so that doesn't even mean anything. But all I'm saying is Keyshawn Johnson does not make the show good. He makes the show worse, and he needs to go. Just being real. But I know I was on a tangent. Let's just continue on.
So am I really the only person? Think about this, Jay, because I know I'm not. But am I really the only person that thinks no matter how great he is in MVPs and championship now, that his style is a little sleepy? Am I the only person? Because I know I'm not. I know that for a fact.
See, I like watching him play a lot. I find the great passers to be the most interesting guys to watch.
Yeah, man, like passing. That's what makes Jokic so great and watchable. His passing. Like that was the whole thing about Jokic. Like, yo, this big man that can pass like that, that's just crazy. So I don't understand like this narrative about Jokic not being watchable. Nobody says that he's not watchable. That's just something that he's bringing up because he's a hater. And he's trying to make it seem as if like a lot of people say that. Yeah, a lot of people say that, but they still watch him. Or a lot of people say that his style is not pleasing, but they still watch him because all they saying is he's a big white dude. That's all they saying. He plays just like Luka. Do they even say Luka? Do they ever say Luka, his style is boring or sleepy? They don't say that. And Jokic is a way better passer than Luka. Way better. And Lukic is an elite passer. So, like, Jokic's level of passing is legendary. It's legendary. Like, it's beyond elite. Like, his passing is out of this world. As well as just his IQ. Like I said, like, he's a very, very, very intelligent basketball player. You know what I mean? Like, he understands nuances of the game, schematics, so on and so forth. All that stuff is a part of skill set.
Than the guys who can do that and jump out the gym, right? But I like watching the great passers better than the great shooters, to tell you the truth, although he does both.
Okay, I mean, stylistically, right? Is it?
Did you see that pass? You saw that hammer pass? Like, come on, bro. You telling me this person is not watchable? Look, the man's passing alone makes you want to watch him. Like, he pretty much is on par with Joel Embiid when it comes to, how they match up. He can do the same thing Joel does, but Joel can't pass like him. Joel cannot pass like Jokic. Joel may be more like explosive a little bit, but he's still big and slow, just like Jokic. He's still big and slow, or at least that's how it looks. But if Jokic was a black man, they'll be just saying he's the same as Embiid. They'll be saying the same thing. They'll be saying he's the same as Embiid. They both just as strong as each other. Jokic, he's not a great shot blocker, but he's a big body. Just that alone is effective when it comes to the defensive end. Like, you see the percentages when it comes to the NBA Finals with certain players coming to the cup and, they're not being as successful as if they were shooting a three or a mid-range shot or what have you because Jokic is in there. Then you got them other big guys like a Gordon and a MPJ. Even Caldwell Pope with his quick-ass hands. So I'm going a little bit on a tangent just about the team, but just in general, Jokic, man, the man is very underrated on that end of the floor when it comes to defense. Very underrated. They only say that because he doesn't block shots. Like, you don't have to, like, he's a good shot alterer. He alters shots.
Similar to, like I said, Embiid has more of a guard R&B style to him, right? Like
he does not, though. He does not. Because if he had more of a guard style to him, he'd be quick as fucking lightning. He'll be dribbling, through his legs twice 100 times. You know what I mean? He plays like a big man. It's just that in this era that we in, it's easy for you to say that because he stretches the floor a lot. He shoots three a lot, but he doesn't play like a guard like that. Like, if you really think about it, He's quick on his feet to a degree, like, almost comparable to the guard, but he does not play like a guard. Embiid plays like a big man, not a traditional big man, but a big man for this era. And even in that, even saying that, it's still not guard like. You know what I mean? It's not like a big man that plays more like a guard would be like a Victor Wembanyama. And he's not even in the league, but that's more like a big man that's moving like a guard because he can move. You know what I mean? Joel is he's slow at times. You know what I mean? Like, not saying that like when it comes to seeing it like in real time or in person, because it'll be different when you watch it on TV. But he appears to be like Jokic quote unquote type slow. You know what I mean? So I don't think that is more about him like playing like a guard. It's just more about him having different set of skills than Jokic, but still on par, still matching up to a degree. It's just that Embiid is more explosive with it. You know what I mean?
It seems like it's more pleasurable, like to the eye. If you're just a viewer of the game, you just want to see style. You're like, all right, like that style looks dope. You watch Jokic, it's unorthodox, right? It looks different. It doesn't look like
it looks. Like at the end of the day, it's effective. And to be honest, it doesn't look bad at all. It's like, what are they getting at with this? What are they getting at? Like, you don't really hear this narrative about Jokic like that. At first, when he first came in the league, you heard it a little bit, but you don't really hear about that, like with Jokic, man. It just seemed like they just nitpicking and trying to find something negative to talk about when it comes to Jokic. And it's crazy because the man won a championship. Like I said, you don't really hear about this when it comes to players who win a championship. Like, they go out their way to slander this dude, really on ESPN. Some of it is on Fox Sports, but it's really on ESPN because ESPN, they love LeBron. Most of the people on ESPN is on a LeBron James payroll. Even on Fox Sports, but still, Nick Wright, guys like that, they're objective to a degree. They're objective. These dudes on here, man, especially Keyshawn, because Jay Will, he does his job pretty well when it comes to being objective, and Max does his job pretty well too. But Keyshawn, man, he's just not good for the show. And you can see that Jay Will sometimes he kind of capes for Keyshawn because he doesn't want Keyshawn to look bad when it comes to his bias against Jokic. It's like, bro, you just being petty for no real reason.
Passes look fresh.
I don't think one time since I've been watching him that he snatched the ball and he sweep through. Embiid, I've seen him do that, Jay, right? It's like
Bro, Jokic has done that before, bro. This is how you know that this dude is not watching. He's not watching shit. He's just going off of, what the average person says about a Jokic when it comes to the person that's not necessarily into the game. You know what I mean? They just probably have a horse in the race when it comes to their team, like a Lakers or whatnot, and just happen to come across watching the Denver Nuggets. Like, no, if you watch the team, if you watch Jokic play, the man does that. He's done that plenty of times. He's done that plenty of times. Maybe it doesn't look the same as an MB, but he does that plenty of times. Sometimes he pirouette. Sometimes he does that little backspin when he posting up. He do the little half spin, jump hook. He has a lot of great post moves. Like, it's just crazy, man. Like, this dude has no idea what the fuck he's talking about. This dude Keyshawn, he has no idea what he's talking about.
Bam,
yeah,
sweep through. Yeah. I seen him yank through, and I just it's like, okay.
Embiid has some little man skills and a big body and looks it. And Jokic, even though he has little man skills, it still looks like a big man doing it.
See, Joel Embiid has little man skills, but he has little man skills and a big body to where it doesn't look like a big body that's a point guard. You get what I mean? Like, it's not like he's like a Ben, like, nah, that's a bad example because Ben Simmons, he's 6'10", but he doesn't have that frame like a Joel Embiid. Like I said, I guess the best example right now is Wembanyama. Wembanyama, tall as hell. He's a center, but he moves like a guard. He's a tall, lanky, skinny, pretty much guard. It's just that he happens to be 7'6". And in the case of an Embiid, he's tall, he's a big dude. He doesn't necessarily play like a guard like that, like a little man like that. He has skills like a little man when it comes to shooting, and that's pretty much it. Just shooting. Like, he doesn't dribble the ball like that. You know what I mean? So I just wouldn't say that he has little man skills. But he can do certain things that little man can do. I guess you could say that.
But even when Jokic runs, he runs with his shoulders. Have you noticed, right?
Very up
it's
and
like,
down.
It's like instead of like the strides, like like how you see track athletes run, like Jokic runs with the shoulders first, like left shoulder, right shoulder, left shoulder, right shoulder, and like it's definitely its own unique style. Man.
Everything's
No, it
going
is.
up and down, up and down.
Look, if I had a chance to sign him and I was looking for that type of player, he'd be the first on the board. I mean, I'm not going to deny his ability to help me win a championship and nothing like that. It just looks weird. Jay's already at the cup, right? It's like, come on, man. That dude,
He's the king of the NBA right now. He's
so
number
tall
one.
and long. Like when he goes to dunk,
You see how he's dismissive towards Max? Like, Keyshawn pretty much doesn't want to face the fact that Jokic is the best player in the world. That's pretty much what it is. Max says he's the king of the NBA right now, and Keyshawn just dismisses him. He doesn't even acknowledge that he said that. He does that a lot to Max on this show. He does that a lot. And I feel like it's not even about like a race thing. I feel like it's more of he understands that Max is intelligent. So that's kind of an affront to him. He's insecure. Like, he knows that Jay is intelligent too, but he looks at Max as like the geeky, analytic dude. And sometimes, like, deep down inside, that makes a person that doesn't necessarily understand certain things insecure. Not saying that Keyshawn is a novice to sports talk and whatnot. I'm just talking about when it comes to basketball. Just basketball. Like, he doesn't know what he be talking about. He sounds silly when it comes to his take. Sometimes he says certain things that's substantive, but that's rare. You know what I mean? So it's like he looks at a Max Kellerman as somebody that's like a threat to him, to the point where he dismisses him. He's insecure. You can see that. At least that's just what I pick up when I watch the show.
he gets off the ground this much. Right, Jay? I mean,
barely jump on the curb. Yeah,
it's like,
hey, that's a game that ages like fine wine, no key.
no, I get it.
It would be
I
nice
get
if he could defend the rim. If he was a rim defender,
Why do we always have to make him more?
because
I'm not making.
Exactly. Like, at the end of the day, bro, the man can grow with that. Look at KD. KD wasn't someone who we looked at as a great defender until he got to Golden State. Like, as soon as KD got to Golden State, we saw what he was doing in that first year, where he was blocking out a lot of shots, altering a lot of shots, just being a pest defensively, because, the offense was more freelance and he can pretty much, do what he wanted, especially on defense. He really like showed that. And, now, KD has that a part of him, attached to him when it comes to his repertoire. He's a great defender, not a good defender. KD is a great defender. So it could be the same thing with Jokic, where, it takes some time for us to really realize how good of a defender he is, because even with KD had that even before he went to Golden State. It's just that you saw it more because of their ability on offense, where it was pretty much easy. So it made defense easy for KD. You're playing a free-flowing offense where it's equal opportunity, so it makes it easy for you to play defense. And it makes it easy for your defense to be shown in certain ways, especially when they're using you in certain matchups. So with Jokic, it's like the man is always in the paint. And we saw what he was able to do when it comes to his ability to alter the Miami Heat's shots, and when it comes to them, taking it to the cup and whatnot. Certain Heat players was hesitant to go to the cup because they saw Jokic big ass in there, as well as Gordon big ass in there. Like the Nuggets, they just too big for Miami, bro. They had a lot of tall, just big ass players on their team, and also they just a stout defensive team, like very very defensive focused. Michael Porter Jr. with them quick ass hands, just a lot, man, just a lot for Miami.
More at all.
I mean, not Michael Porter Jr. Kentavious Caldwell Pope. He got quick ass hands.
defensively, he looks bad at times on defense. Overall, he's not terrible on defense, but as a big, he does not give you rim protection. That's true.
He played pretty well in Game 5.
Yeah,
the dude just won a championship, and we're talking about the things he doesn't do.
But no one's perfect.
I didn't talk about the things that he doesn't do. I'm talking about his style. It just, when I watch,
you see how he's getting all defensive and shit? Because Max ain't saying, well, I didn't say it, or, it's just him saying that. Because it's like, bro, you the main one that's being petty about it. And at the end of the day, the man Jokic, he's a 2-time MVP for a reason, a 5-6-time All-Star for a reason. Like, you have to have skill in order for you to get those type of accomplishments and accolades and whatnot. It's not just about being a dunker and being athletic and all this shit. Like, that's just like, that's simple-minded, silly shit. Like, niggas gotta be more, on point than that. You have to be more intelligent than that when it comes to how you grasp certain things about the game. It's not just about, oh my God, he has a 40-inch vertical. He could jump, out the gym and all. That's come on, bro. That's like superhero shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, nigga, Keyshawn, look at the black players in the NBA as superheroes, and the white players is just regular people. Like I'm not being biased here, man. Obviously, I love my people, but you have a lot of white players that's in the league that can bust a lot of black players' ass. Just being real. Like Luka be giving it to these dudes. He just be giving it to these dudes. But Luka and Shea, that's a good matchup. Like Shea Gilgeous Alexander is like a Luka. Would they say his game is trash? No, because he's a black man. Just the fact that he black is just that's all you need. You know what I mean? Like, come on, bro. It's the same shit. Like, look at Shea Gilgeous Alexander. That man is a problem. Like, I see them really doing something next year. Especially when Holmgren get back. Oh, my God. Look out for OKC next year. Look out for the Suns and the Thunder. Those two teams in 2024 season, they're going to make some noise. For real.
I'm like, okay, it's cool.
So, like, I ask myself these type of questions. Would I rather have somebody whose style, I'm like, oh, that style is beautiful, but, like, we don't win, or would I rather have somebody's style who I think is a little bit unorthodox, but I'd rather play with? I'd much rather have the latter all day long.
Yeah, Jokic is the best player in the NBA. You want to win a championship, and you can pick one guy, he gets you closest.
I'm not worried about style, Key, as much as I'm worried about results.
I'm the same way. When I played football, I played with a bunch of quarterbacks, right? Everybody, oh, man, you ain't never had it. I'm good with the dude I got. Because the dude I got, he going to make sure I get the rock. I'm going to make sure he look good. I'm going to help my team win.
Are you?
And that's what Jokic does. That's what Jokic does. Like, he puts his teammates in position to be successful, man. He puts his teammates in position to be successful. He's very deferential when it comes to just his willingness to give his team members, his teammates, the shine. Same thing like with Jimmy Butler to a degree. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, man, Jokic is a great player. Just, accept that. It's okay. He's going to be here. LeBron is leaving. LeBron is not going to be here, man. He only got about at least 2 more years. Jokic is going to be here. Jokic is about 27 years old, 26? He's going to be here. Get used to it. He's a great player.